Hello, I'm Peter Bell, and I'm here with Mr. Jim Pettit of Aben Resources. Hello, Jim.
Hi, Peter. How are you doing?
Very well, thanks. Nice to be talking to you. Um, Glad to hear time in Montreal the last few days for you.
Well, it was pretty incredible. Good. It was a good investment conference, but then the Formula One race was really quite something.
Wonderful. And it's June 11th today. There was news out from the company yesterday commencing drilling in the Yukon. A new project there, as I understand it, or a new drilling program on an old project.
Well, that's what it is. We've had this project since 2010. We discovered an intrusion-related gold system back in 2012. It was looking pretty good at the time, and we wanted to move forward, but the whole market up in the Yukon kind of just ended suddenly. So, we kind of just put it on the back burner, and then we got ourselves involved in the Golden Triangle in the ensuing years. And we've got something going there. I mean, it's really
Yeah.
good. But it's a short season. So over the last couple of years, we very quietly did some small sampling programs, trenching programs on the Justin property in the Yukon, and it's come up with something that's really got our attention peaked. And that's going to allow us, that's why we're going to drill it right now. We got it to the point where that's all there is left to do. We think it's associated, it's a high grade orogenic system expressed at surface. And it's very close to what we called the POW zone, which is where we discovered this intrusion related system. And, we think there's potential for overprinting because this intrusion would have come up in through the older rock, right? The older formations, and it
Yeah.
brought it to surface. And it's right beside Golden Predator's 3 Aces. So it's very high grade, coarse gold. That's why we called it the Lost Ace, by the way. And it's got, there could be some serious overprinting. So we don't know, but it's a theory to work with. So we're drilling it, and that adds a month to our drill season, which is perfect. So instead of news flow starting in the middle of August, it's going to start probably towards the end of this month.
Yeah,
So that's
wonderful.
that's a big plus. Yeah.
Lost Ace. I hadn't seen that mentioned there. Thank you very much.
Well, a little cheeky, but you know what? It's the same formation, a little bit higher
Well,
in the
and
system, but and it's what they're looking at.
yeah, and wonderful. Eastern Yukon, right? People may be hearing more Western Yukon, but appreciate waving the banner there on that. And the proposed drill program, the work program here, very simple and effective from what I could see. I was glad to see
Yeah.
RAB drilling, 600 meters up to 20 holes, right?
Yep.
Shallow holes to test surface expression. Good work.
Yeah. It's a good way to
And
extend the trenching program. We
is
can
that
do
what was
20
done
holes
before? Yeah.
pretty quick. Yeah, we did trenching last year where we hit 5 trenches about 125 meters or 150 meters in strike, and you get surface up to 82 grams
Yeah.
in some of these things, and so it's all there, and you can look at on our website and you can see the gold
Wonderful.
that we had. It's coarse. It's beautiful
Yeah, thank
what
you
it
for
is,
sharing the
and
pictures of that too. Yeah, that's wonderful stuff. And additional prospecting. Glad to hear mention of that. Maybe the 1,350 meters of diamond drilling, up to 10 holes mentioned. Any specific thoughts on that?
well, that's it might be 6 holes, it might be 10, depending on what we're hitting. Right now, the first hole is done, and we took it. I think it was to 250, and that wasn't the intention, but we did it for a reason. So good. We may even expand it if it looks real good. But
Wonderful.
we have the history of 2012. We drilled 19 holes there, and we hit gold in almost all of them.
Yeah.
So it's lower grade bulk tonnage potential beside this very high grade new discovery. And this is why we say there could be overprinting. If this older system gets remobilized when this intrusion came up, we could be looking at some higher grades around that intrusion. And keep in mind, this is part of the Tintina belt, which is known for intrusion related gold systems. You've got Fort Knox at the other end, and Virginia Gold, and even Kaminak. So we could be onto something. Who knows? This could be
And
a real sleeper, but it's going to add, lots of news flow for us.
I see on the map of the project area, I see an airport indicated. and a road touching the edge of the
Hmm.
property. Imagine that. So operating costs
Yeah.
and stuff.
Yeah, it's a good little fixed wing landing strip, not unlike what we have at Forest KERR, where we right beside where we have the crew stay. It's the Bob Quinn airstrip right off the highway. This is
Really.
an airstrip right on the hauling road. That's the original hauling road from Cantong. That's way north of us, but it's called the Nahanni Range Road.
And that's a famous tungsten mine.
Yeah, yeah.
What a great mining history for this area of Canada.
And it's also one of the main stretches of road that's being part of that big upgrade by the Yukon government. They're spending 300 million or whatever it was, whatever they said. I can't remember the exact number. It was huge, but the large part of it's going to this road to replace all the bridges all the way up. And then there's also the highway, the road that goes up into the whole Kaminak and ATAC region.
And first hole completed. Can we expect any indication if you were encountering visible gold, either when if and nuggets
How quickly will
potentially?
we get?
Well,
How
with the
quickly can we
rab
turn around
or
news?
yeah,
Well, the RAB is, that's not something you'd use to build ounces with because it's kind of difficult because you don't know. Diamond drilling, you've got 1 meter intervals. You know where the gold is.
yeah,
Whereas the rotary air blast pulverizes it, and you can get the gold falling down through into the core, and it settles. So it could be coming from higher up.
yep,
Who knows? We use it as a strong indicator, and we can talk about grades over a much larger interval rather than 1 meter. Um, and it's just a
yep,
guide, really. And then we bring in a diamond drill, every now and again if we want to go forward with it. That's what we would do.
yep,
But you should be able to see the gold in that. And the rab drill's not there yet. Took us a little bit to find a rab drill that was available because they're becoming more and more popular as
yep.
a new form of drilling. And so the diamond drill got there first. That wasn't our intention, but it doesn't matter. It's all going to be done by the end of the month.
Wow,
Everything will be finished, and then we start right away. We'll segue right into the Forest KERR over in the Golden Triangle because that's all
wonderful.
getting set and ready to go. The boots on the ground will be probably around the 28th of June.
Thank you very much. When did the idea for this interim initial program here for the season kick off?
Well, where'd that idea come from?
Yeah,
That was me. I was looking to try to somehow expand the drill season, right?
right.
That this was a good way to do it. And then I was also going to include the Saskatchewan project, the CHICO, but we ran into some native issues kind of out of the blue, so I just put it on hold for now. I think
Yep.
that'll resolve itself over the next little while, but I just didn't want to run into problems. So,
I've talked to you
we
about
went
that a
ahead with
couple
this.
years ago and was continue to be impressed by the projects and things you find to work on and the continuity there going back years. In terms of the exploration work and the
Oh,
concept,
yeah.
the thesis,
Well,
very well done.
we want projects that have got work on them that we can reevaluate and move forward with it because there's a lot. You look at it now with different eyes. There's new technologies. There's all kinds of things to work with that I guess they didn't have back then. And for example, where we are now, that was a part of it was owned by Viceroy years ago, and there was lots of info available for us, and so there's no surprises here other than
Yeah.
we've got two systems side by side that are, that could be a real trigger to some really good success. That's what I hope, anyway. And I've
Well,
convinced
just a matter
everybody
of
around me
spending.
that yeah,
That's wonderful. I'm glad that you were able to
yeah,
convince them, right? Because it's about spending
yeah,
the money and having the team that says, "Yep, this is go ahead on this."
yeah, yeah. Well, we have a good whack of money in the till. We've still got 5 million from last year's season in the Forest KERR. The budget up in the Yukon is 1.3, and I just raised very quickly last week a quick flow through financing just to cover those costs because the guys last year put the money in. The example, Eric Sprott, wasn't for the Yukon, so
Yeah.
I'm just I don't want to upset anybody, but this is a quick and relatively easy program, and we can get in ahead of the forest KERR, there's less snow in the Yukon than there is on the coastal mountain range where the Golden Triangle is.
Well, and appreciate you using flow through financing to do that, right? And commit yourself to spending that money on exploration work.
Yeah, well, this is actually flow through I can use in BC as well. So
Great.
whichever works is gonna. It's all good. It's
Well
all
done.
good. But the fact of
Uh,
the matter is, I got that done in 3 days last week.
And to wind the clock back here to August 2018, there was a news release that jumped out at me. It mentioned something about the south zone of
Hmm.
the south boundary zone. I was
Hmm.
looking through the pitch deck here as well, and I saw the survey golden soil samples, and the various maps showing
Yep.
coverage of that sample, and it's jumped out at me that there's kind of a gap around what's indicated as being the south boundary zone, with some high grade numbers on the southern edge of that gap. Wondering why that area wasn't surveyed. Looking at the topography and stuff, it doesn't look like it was a mountaintop or anything
Well,
prohibitive like
no,
that. So
that's just further south in the valley that we're in. And what caught Cornell's attention, he's our head geo and VP exploration, was that there was the geochem anomaly was there was an overlay of an old geophysical target there too, so they were overlying each other, and that's turned out to be a bit more polymetallic than what we were hitting in the north boundary. North boundary was predominantly high grade gold and associated with chalcopyrite for the most part. There was a few holes there that there was high grade gold that had no chalcopyrite. It looked a lot like snip, which was just a black carbonate with quartz veins.
yeah,
The south boundary has gold, silver, copper, zinc in it. They seem to be quite broad intersections that we drilled there, those three holes, of lower grade, but 60 to 100 meters. So, what are we looking at there? There's something quite different. So, it gives us more to work with this year on the Forest KERR property. Is we've got some theories that are evolving. Cornell's been working all off season modeling, 3D modeling what we did last year
great.
on Leapfrog, and he's turning it around. He's got some ideas, so we'll be going in pretty quick. We got 3 areas there that we want to hit hard really early in the season because we've got some ideas that there may be some good success that we can hit quick.
Well, this is it, right? It's boundary and forest and wedge zone, Arctic zone. How many of those is it really just boundary for the drilling?
It's the boundary zone was one of 20 targets that we generated after the initial data compilation, which took 6 months. And it's really the Carcass zone was part of it. To be honest with you, it was the very north end of the boundary zone. And we did a few holes in the Carcass. It was very, very difficult to drill. We didn't hit what we thought we would. And then we just moved south and along the boundary zone, and that's what we came up with as the last 2 seasons. So
Yeah.
here we are, 2 seasons of drilling into it, and we're still on the first target. And there's no reason why we should be leaving it. Where there's lots of gold there. It's a question of getting a handle on things like structure and orientation. So last year we used oriented core, and that's really helped with the 3D modeling. That's why we came in early already and have done a big mag survey over the whole boundary zone. It's 5 kilometers by 2 kilometers. We're looking for deeper seated structures. There's an awful lot of noise there coming off the KERR fault, and it's complex. We're hitting in one hole. You can hit 4 different styles of mineralization, so it's complex. You get alteration changing within the hole,
Yeah.
and it's so what's going on? And one of our thoughts is, we got to be deeper. That's what this mag survey, mag IP, I think it is going to help. We're going to see some stuff we haven't seen using some of the old data. So, like I said, new data, and these guys have already done it. And if there's areas we want to really concentrate on, they'll come back in and fly drones and
Good.
do it and get
Yeah.
far better resolution. But I think this is going to help. Like I said, we've got 3 target areas to start with. And it'd be nice to get off to a start like we did last year.
All the best of luck with it. Listening to Chris Taylor, I believe it is, from Great Bear, talking about Red
Yeah,
Lake, and heard him saying a seismic survey that provided some deep
yep, yep,
visibility of big structures was relatively important in some
yep.
stages of their analysis. And yeah, glad to hear magnetics and mention of drones. Any talk of
Well,
ground based seismic? Is that
the seismic would give you information. We use seismic up in the Athabasca, like for Sky Harbor. I'm on the board of Sky Harbor. You
yeah?
use that in your initial work because it gives you the pretty good resolution of the contacts, right, between two different um, strata or lithologies, right? And
Well, the all
that's what
important
they were looking for with.
unconformity in the
Yeah.
Athabasca, right?
Oh,
This is
yeah.
it.
That's where it changes, and that's what seismic will give you. And I was just listening to the Great Bear guys, and yeah, it worked well for them. Yeah. No, I.
With Forest KERR, right?
It,
It's a pretty big structure.
yep.
You almost wonder twisting and
Well,
turning a kilometer down.
we know where, because it's been well mapped. There's the major structure that we look for is the contact between the Hazelton and Stewhenny. Um, lithologies, those are really vital because all the
Yep.
big deposits up there that have been found are in association within 2 kilometers of that so-called um, contact. They call it the red line. The BC Geologic Survey call it the red line,
Yep.
and you have to be within a certain distance, like with 2 kilometers is also good for being close to certain major structural features. So we've got the forest. The Kerr fault runs straight up our property,
Yeah.
and that's your major structural driver. That's the engine, and then within 2 kilometers to the east, we've got this contact that we know you can literally see it in some of the outcrops. It's right
Yeah.
there, and you want to be near that. So we're in this zone, this area that discovery potential increases if you're within that 2 kilometer range. And we're kind of sticking with it and working with that theory, and that could change. But right now, everything's telling us that this is a system that's got tons of gold.
Yep.
We need to figure out how it all comes together so that we can our drilling becomes a lot more predictable.
Well, and as you step out with deeper holes, your predictability may go out the window again, right? I
Yep.
see
Yep.
130 holes so far, 20,000 meters, right? It's a fair amount of drilling, but the
Yep.
average depth, this is
Well, with what we're doing, the average depth, I mean, there's virtually nothing below 150 meters. We got long holes, but
yeah,
the angles don't really go beyond 60 degrees.
yeah,
Um, so there is more to look at depth, and and I have to explain to people too that this may be our third season up there. It's our second season of drilling. There's 12,000 meters of drilling, but in reality, if we were drilling all year long, that wouldn't barely be 1 year. We'd still be in our first year. So this is what we're faced with up there. It's if we're trying to build a resource hopefully this year we'll get a handle on it. We can start building on a resource. Yeah, you could raise the money and drill further into the winter, but then it starts just adding up. The cost just escalates
well, and this
because you
is the
get
all
40 feet of
important.
snow.
Yeah, and the all important strategic question of how best to advance um, the exploration business here, right? Towards
Mm-hmm.
some kind of a transaction. The group here has been through several of them before, right?
Yeah.
And
Yep.
it's
Well, I think
do you need a resource estimate to sell this project or to have a major event?
not necessarily. I've noticed there's a distinct change in some of the majors because they're looking up there again in the Golden Triangle, and Cisco's up. That's been more than willing to listen and look. Newmont taking over Goldcorp now has a position up there. Plus, they've now helped finance GT Gold.
Yep.
They're fairly aggressive. Plus, north of our Justin in the Yukon, they're doing field work to the north of us because we're almost on the NWT border, and on the east side. They're in the NWT doing field work, and I think they
Wow.
optioned the ground from a company called Evram. And that's kind of backwards.
Amazing. Yeah.
Normally, they would
But
hire us to do the field
but
work.
this is continued strength from Evram too, right? I'm glad to hear mention of it. Thank you.
Oh yeah, yeah. It's no, they're doing good, and no, but there are more majors. You've also got Newmont took out Nova Gold in the Galore Creek partnership, so now they're tech partners, and
Yeah.
they're on our northern border, and they're spending $10 million there this year.
Yeah.
So that North Road that cuts through our northern part of our property, that's the Galore Creek Road.
Wow. And
So there's lots going on, and then because of the Goldcorp connection with Colorado, you've got that new group coming. I'm trying to remember the name, but it's I think it's Cathro's company, and he's got a pretty good track record. So that's a good partnership for Colorado because I know Goldcorp, Newmont probably wanted somebody else to take that on.
shades
We're
of
looking for high grade
a
gold.
bull
That's
market,
when you're looking
right?
for, yeah. This is what I was just explaining to people at the Montreal conference I was at, was that a good sweet spot to be in a bad market is high grade gold. That's what you're looking for. I'm not looking for porphyries. I'm not looking for all this other stuff. I'm looking for high grade gold. So you go
Yep.
to areas that offer that up. And there really is not very many places in the world like the Golden Triangle.
Yeah, certainly.
When you look at what Pretium has done, and prior to that, Eskay Creek and Snip. Eskay Creek was one of the highest grade mines in the world.
Yeah. Yeah.
Their head grade, I think, was over 40 grams.
Well, and to show the world, what's possible with
Yeah.
profitable potential in the future, some prolific gold mining coming out of this area.
Yeah.
It's the stuff that bull
And
markets are made out of, I think.
Not to forget, there's some of the highest grade, or largest undeveloped copper mines in the world sitting right there. They're there.
And
they're waiting.
And the bullishness around copper ebbs and wanes, but the medium term, right? There's a whole bunch of people who have gotten into themselves familiar with the concepts there and are watching that. And I think that may be some of the first sector rotation that we see from, some more generalist investors looking towards industrial minerals and opportunities, heavy industries, copper mining. And then this gold stuff potentially sets it on fire after that.
Yeah. One of the best charts I've ever seen is actually Gartman's chart from a few weeks back. Was you got high priced equities, low priced commodities.
Yep.
And they're inverse of each other. And when you can start seeing the swing in the low price commodities, that starts changing, and then you've got this long run. And that's the beginning of a sector rotation when it starts to gain momentum and the equities start falling.
Well, and maybe that would be just one question I'd ask you about waiting too, right? And the fact that, some of these cycles do seem to go for a long time, but, the field season is short. So it's this tension between short-term attention spans and market action and then long-term value creation.
And it is. I mean, it's not impossible. I mean, you do have short-term attention spans in this particular play, but a lot of people, they gain their entry in the off season, and in the peaks of the drilling season, they'll cover their costs.
Yeah,
I've never been involved with a company that has more investors with more than 1 million shares. It's unbelievable. But this is just bizarre to me. But that's what it is, and it's high grade gold. It's that. That is one of the few things that you can always rely on as far as getting market attention.
It's amazing to hear it. I saw Red Plug Capital mentioned as a notable large shareholder of the company there as well. Good work on securing their interest.
Yeah. Well, our largest shareholder is Eric.
Yeah.
Brott.
Yeah, and what a champion he is of the space.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah, that's all good. And then we got a couple of funds over in Europe that are really good.
And people who understand the fundamentals of what you're up to here and the fact that it's it's a capital intensive operation all around.
Yeah. Definitely.
Jim Pettit, Aben Resources, 604-639-3851, info@abenresources.com. at Aben_ABN on Twitter. Jim, thanks very much for talking to me.
Thank you very much.
Goodbye.